Assalamu alaikum and welcome to our project 2 video. I'm Muhammad Suhaib Abdullah. In this video, we will talk about the findings of our project. Our project is about statistical data analysis. We have chosen a data set about in hospital mortality prediction of patients who are in intensive care unit or ICU. The original data set had over 1100 data, but we processed it and took it down to about 400. We use 7 variables. Those are age used for hypothesis testing, diastolic blood pressure and respiratory rate for regression analysis, heart rate and systolic blood pressure for correlation analysis, and finally gender and diabetes for chi-square test of independence. And now we will explain what we found in each of our analysis. Hi, it's Suhaib again. In this regression test, I use two variables. One is independent and another one is dependent. The independent variable is denoted by X and it is the respiratory rate. And the dependent variable Y is the diastolic blood pressure. My goal was to determine whether there is a relationship between respiratory rate and the diastolic blood pressure of the patients. This is a scatter plot made with the X and Y data. As you can see, based on this plot, we can state that there is a linear relationship between diastolic blood pressure and respiratory rate, but it is a weak one because the data points are very spread out from the main regression line. I used R scripts to figure out the value of intersection coefficient, which is B0 here, and the value of it is 52.6058, and the value of estimated change in the average value of diastolic blood pressure is B1 equals to 0.2918. This leads us to the estimated regression model, which is y equal to 52.6058 plus 0.2918x. The equation shows that for every unit change in the respiratory rate, the diastolic blood pressure will also rise. Next, we figured out the value of the coefficient determination, which is R square. The value of R square is 0.0113. This indicates that only 1.113% among the 398 patients has their diastolic blood pressure related to their respiratory rate. Hence, we can conclude that the dependency of diastolic blood pressure on respiratory rate is very little, but it is not absent.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Emin Hisham. I'm going to be explaining how I did the correlation test for the data set. So as you can see here, I have my data here, and I'm going to do the correlation test for the heart rate and systolic blood pressure. So as you can see here, this is the code. Use the library Tidyverse, so I can use the ggplot, and as you can see here, this is my plot on the bottom right. And I also did the correlation test, as you can see here in line 7. Yeah, it's a person product moment correlation, and this is our correlation coefficient, negative 0.1. And as you can see here in the plot, it shows a little to no relationship between the two variables. So yeah.
Hello, my name is Abdul Khalid, and I'll be discussing about the hypothesis one sample which I did with the z-tests. And as you can see that we have used Redux library to load the Excel file, and let's view our data set, which is of 398 rows. I'm gonna use the age column right here. So I'm loading the age column in data variable, and the critical value is 0.05. Our null hypothesis is 70, and our number of people is 398. As the average, you can see is 74.027, and our standard deviation is 30.316, and we get our z data by these variables, which is 6.033, and our z alpha, which is from z tables, which is 1.644. As you can see, that our z data is much greater than the z alpha, so we reject our null hypothesis as we don't have sufficient evidence to prove it.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. This is Abdullah Rafi and I am gonna describe my project. I am conducting a T-square independence test. This is my dataset. I am working on gender and diabetes. This T-square is gonna be based on gender and diabetes set. So I'm gonna run the program right now. After running, it's gonna show the library here. After that, it's gonna show the dataset here. After that, it's gonna view the dataset over here. Then go here is the dataset. It's gonna show everything. There are 398 in here. So that's it. That's the dataset. Now I'm gonna run through again. Uh, this is the table. You can see here. This is the table here. After that, it's gonna show us the chi square value, df value, and p value. After that, it's gonna show us the critical value alpha. After that, it's gonna show us the x square alpha value. That's it. This is the end of the program. Thank you.
That concludes our video. Hopefully, you guys learned something new. Thank you for watching and stay safe.